challenge for us. Secondly, I think is student enrollment trends. So if we continue to have outstanding academic achievement, it's going to attract more students and retain more students, much like we had the 40 students return from the charter school locally. But I think the one that might surprise you is that everything right now appears to be going very well with our school district. We truly have a great school district. So I think the risk is that we try to do something that we're not. We become complacent. We don't continue to be consistent with what it took to get to where we are today. So again, I think it's the risk, again, the biggest risk is becoming something that we're not. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy?
I'm not going to beat the budget to death because we all know that we have a restricted foundation allowance, and we, in our neighboring districts, we do more with less, and we do it very prudently. I think being flexible enough and to be able to hit the target on enrollment. We have quite a bit of building in the west. We have schools on the western boundary that are starting to fill up, and we're reaching capacity, which will, and so being flexible enough to recognize where our enrollment spikes might be and being able to counteract that, God forbid, with another boundary change. But in those developments that are not currently, where they're still building and they don't have parents that are moving into them, to have some flexibility in moving those available buildings opening to counteract some of the spikes. But we are looking, the board in May of 2015, with your benevolence, was able to renew the sinking fund. At that time, we did a study assessment of what critical 1, 2, 3 kind of projects we're going to be able to be utilizing those funds. We are now going back on a more of a strategic 10 to 20 year plan to see how our infrastructure is going to be able to make it through the next 15, 20 years. That'll be the next one. We do have some pretty significant infrastructure issues and concerns, and we obviously will be transparent with those with the public.
Thank you. And Sarah?
I got to go last, so my list just keeps getting longer. I have
You
a
still
lot
get a minute.
A lot of priorities. Okay. Number one, I don't think I heard anyone emphasize what is my number one priority, which is maintaining the excellence of the experience for our children and what we're getting out at the end and our end result. You heard about our amazing test scores this year. To me, everything else is the adult's problem, right? That's how do we manage it? How do we run our budget? How do we retain our teachers so that we have those good results? How do we reward them? How do we get the infrastructure in place? How do we get the furniture that we should have in there? How do we deal with capacity issues? How do we run the bonding so that we get the financial resources to do all of this? But to me, that's all subordinated to the end common result that we all want, which is that this experience, these 12 or 13 years that these kids have, are formative, that they end up with an amazing experience, with an amazing education. And to me, the rest is, that's our problem, and it's putting your head down and doing a good job with all of those, sub issues of retention and infrastructure and bonding and whatnot. But I keep my eyes on the big prize, and to me that is, what is that educational experience for these kids, and how can we maximize that for the top flyers, to the challenge students, and everybody in between.
Thank you. And a big round of applause to all of our candidates tonight. And thank you to our audience members for all of the questions. Our candidates will now have 3 minutes to have a closing statement. You don't need all 3 if you don't need them, but if you have 3, you do have 3 minutes. If you'd like to close or provide any other information that will help the voting members make their best decision coming up on November 8th. So Lori, we will start back with you, and then when we get to Matt, we'll just do a closing, and then I believe Superintendent Gallagher is going to speak again, and we'll wrap it up so that we can go head home. So Lori.
Great. Thanks. In closing, the world that I live in each day as a teacher that you see in the classroom, working to make sure children are given all the educational opportunities possible. Beyond those children are the parents that nurture, encourage, and tell them to do the best every day. Still beyond those parents are the administrators, the support staff that work tirelessly every day to make sure that there's a safe environment for the children to come. Those who take your children to and from school, and those who make sure things are clean and sanitized for the next school day. Finally, and just as important, are the community members who have a vested interest in the well-being of their schools and the children that enter those doors every day. This is the world I live in, which gives me a strong perspective that I would bring to serving on the Northville Board of Education, a tradition of excellence, a world of possibilities.
Thank you. Scott?
Well, I want to conclude by thanking Lan for hosting this very informative and important event here tonight. I want to wish all my fellow candidates the best of luck. I think that the school board is going to be strong no matter who is elected to the school board. I guess I'll leave you with three reasons why somebody should consider me for their vote. Number one is a strong financial skill set. I think I illustrated that throughout tonight. I'm an investment advisor officer with PNC Bank, authored 6 books with McGraw-Hill, and I've taught an undergraduate investments class. So if our school finances are important to you, if you believe in fiscal responsibility, then I probably am the candidate that you should consider. If you're looking for someone with educational leadership experience, I do have that as well. Again, I do participate with the NEF, Northville Educational Foundation, and that sort of leads me to my third one, which I think is really important. It's passion and enthusiasm. So it doesn't really matter how much or what your skill set truly is if you don't have a passion or enthusiasm for what you do. So again, I have a vested interest in the long-term success of Northville Public Schools. I have a 3rd grader and a 4th grader. So I'm committed to the school system, I'm committed to the school board, and for advancing Northville's tradition of excellence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cindy?
I just want to say thank you for the great questions this evening. You really put us through our paces, and we had to scramble with only a minute to respond, so we had to be very concise. But I think as a result of those great questions, we've all determined that each of us have the passion to serve on the board. And as the second most senior member of the board in terms of service, I'm not going to talk about my candidacy in particular. You can find us all on LinkedIn. You can Google us, as much as you want. And I did fail to mention, I'm sorry, Joe, but I'm sure you're not going to be watching this anyway. I have a sophomore at Northville High School. We've come through Silver Springs and Meads, and being part of the board and part of my wanting to get on the board is because I was highly involved in a volunteer basis at Silver Springs, and I just wanted to take that next step and really know how a community functions with their board and what kind of policy that we set, and I really jumped in with both feet on the appointment process, and quite frankly, it's been the most invigorating and rewarding experience I've done. But I'm not going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about doing your homework. I would love it if each of you would go home and over the next few weeks, find out who we are. Look at our LinkedIn, go to our websites. We've all got Facebook, we've all got social media, we've all got campaign websites. We all answered the MLive Ann Arbor questions. We went to the Women League of Voters. I mean, there is information out there about who we are and what we do and what kind of backgrounds that we bring to the board, what our life work is, what our volunteer work life is like, and really dive in and see that full spectrum. Take a look at what we do and how we're doing it, and look at the differences in us, because the differences in our work life and our volunteer life and in our cultural life make us stronger. So look for those opportunities to find the right person that you can vote for and be confident that if an issue comes up, you can ring me up or you can ring up any other board member. Take a look at the full spectrum, not just the candidates, but really take a look at the background and find that person you're comfortable with. I really want to challenge you to do that. I do that when I vote. I think it's important for us. We're here to serve you. We want to make our schools and continue to make our schools the tradition of excellence that is really the reputation of Northville. So please, look at the candidates, the entire board, and find those candidates that really speak to you. And then please take that homework, mark your ballot, find us on the second page or in the middle of the page, because I pulled my precinct today, and go to the voter booth and vote for those 4 candidates who you feel are confident leaders, will be able to address your questions if you have them, and can really continue to move this district forward in all the different arenas that we talked to in that little snippet of time that we had for each question, and take that through the voting booth on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
I too will thank you all for putting this together, and to all of you for your questions. I really appreciate the opportunity. I really enjoy being on the board, and I have a very full other life with 3 little kids, I promise you. But I put a lot of myself into this job, and I really do try to bring my best to every meeting. I do my homework. I try to use my education, my experience, my common sense, my heart, my compassion for kids, my love for kids, every time I attend the board meeting and every time I vote. And it's important to me to be on the board. I'm a little bit surprised at how important it is to me, and I really would like to be on the board again. So I would just put that out there. I have only just begun having a year of experience on the board. It's a learning curve, and I've really dedicated myself to learning the ins and outs of public finance and education finance to add to what I know. In terms of why me in particular, I will just say that I think that a board is about as good as the whole, the group of people that are brought together in that room. No one person brings everything that we would want, whether it's the experience in the classroom or financial insight, et cetera. If you suspect, as I do, that a group is the combination of all of its parts, what I think I add is that expertise that I mentioned about our personnel and employment issues. They are huge, huge, expensive issues, and I have been at the table when school boards made bad mistakes and cost their taxpayers, their kids, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars because somebody wasn't there watching and using better judgment in the areas that I am paid to look at all day, every day. And so while we all talk about financial conservatism and trying to husband our resources really smartly and wisely, I think what I can add is that that particular skill and expertise to do that in such an important way, and because our personnel line items are such big line items, it's really a high impact that I bring. And I would just add that I don't think there isn't anyone else on the existing board or any of the other candidates up here who have that particular area of their focus. So if you think that that's an important area, that's what I think that I would add to the group that you're otherwise selecting here. The last thing I will just say is that that I have really enjoyed being here tonight, and I really appreciate your time and attention, and I would just ask you to please consider me for your vote on November 8th.
Thank you. And Matt, to close us out on our closing statements.
Thank you. I appreciate PTA Land putting this together. Debbie, you've been in this district for as long as I can remember, and you've been a leader driving us kind of in the direction. I ask myself, as I've indicated, I'm a father of 2, and I sort of put down some ideas, and I looked at them and they said, wow, this is what a dad does. And no disrespect to the ladies on the board, but dads do things a little differently. And number 1 role is to protect, and that is to protect our children and to protect what we have here. We think we've done a really good job. We've talked about finances in detail. We've talked about the credit rating upgrade that we got. We were the first district in the state from after 2009 to have a credit rating upgrade. We did a bond refinancing that saved us $1 million. We were protecting that interest. We are protecting our kids when we make the decisions that we talked about today. The other role is that of encouragement. I read somewhere, celebrate like you won the lottery. And that's what I've done with my own kids, and that's what I think this district does. We celebrate in a very particular way. This district has a lot of high flyers, and that's all well and good, and we have a 97% graduation rate, and that's wonderful. But what we're probably most proud of, among other things, is our center program at Cook. If you haven't visited, you know that this school district and this building hosts some of the most challenging students in Western Wayne County. We draw from the entirety of Western Wayne County, and no one is prouder than we are at taking the kids with the greatest challenges and making the tiniest steps, because And if you haven't been to it, come see, and you'll see us celebrate like we won the lottery. Because there's nothing more enjoyable than seeing that kid who is challenged more than you can possibly imagine, get on the bus and go to work for their job, and you see them throughout the community, and they are so proud, and we are too. I'm honored to have served on this board and tried to provide the protection and encouragement that a dad would bring, and I'm looking forward to additional years and to try to continue to do that within this district. Thanks.
Thank you. And again, thank you all for your participation, and thank the audience members. And the people we forgot to thank are Megan and Mary Kay. Thank you for your support in helping facilitate this tonight. And thank you for all of your questions, and we hope you enjoyed. And Mary Kay is going to close us out.
Well, first, how about a round of applause for PTA Legislative Action Network for hosting a terrific candidate forum. To each of you present today, thank you for your thoughtful questions, and I also wanted to let you know for those questions that were remaining, that we will type those up and get those out to each one of our candidates so that they're aware of the remaining questions that you had. And to each of our candidates, thank you for being here tonight. This truly is an incredible Northville community, and I think that was represented tonight in the quality of folks that are willing to serve on the Board of Education, and in the quality of the questions and the degree to which we care about our kids and the education they receive and the needs of our broader community. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. And I did want to mention our Connections newsletter should have been received in your homes, hopefully on Saturday, but this does have some additional information, our candidate profile. It also has some additional information about the recent enhancement millage that was referenced tonight, along with lots of information about the school district, contact information, and also some of our facility issues, which were referenced in some of your questions to our here in this communication. So thank you for being here tonight, and again, last but not least, again, PTA Council, thank you for doing a great job, and Cynthia for moderating in such a tremendous way. So thank you. Good night, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good way that you did that. I've been in there.
I'd like to see
After listening to these questions, you might go,